It was a cold winter morning. The sky was gray, the wind was sharp, and the city moved on as if nobody noticed the girl sitting quietly on the weathered park bench at the edge of 7th Avenue. Her coat was thin. Her fingers were red from the cold. Beside her was an old stroller, cheap, scratched, but safe, where her baby girl slept, bundled in second-hand blankets. Her name was Grace Carter. Just 23 years old. A single mother. Alone. She had no home. No job. No family left to call. All she had was a baby named Hope, and a single peanut butter sandwich wrapped in a napkin. She stared at the sandwich. It wasn't much, just 2 pieces of dry bread with a thin layer of peanut butter, left over from a kind stranger at the shelter last night. Her stomach was empty, rumbling, aching. But she waited. Maybe her baby would sleep a little longer. Maybe if she stayed still, she could forget how hungry she was. Then, she heard a soft sound. Not her baby. A different cry. She looked up and saw a small boy, about 5 or 6 years old, standing near the swings. His coat was torn, his shoes were too big, and his face was red from the cold. He looked around, scared, lost, hungry. Grace's eyes met his. He didn't say anything. He just stared at her, and at the sandwich in her lap. Grace hesitated. This was all she had. Her only food. But her heart wouldn't let her turn away. She broke the sandwich in half. She handed the bigger piece to the boy. Here, she said gently. You need it more than I do. The boy looked at her, stunned, then took it. He whispered a quiet, thank you, and ran toward the trees. Grace watched him disappear. She didn't know who he was. She didn't ask. She just hoped he was okay. 15 minutes later. A black luxury car pulled up near the park. A man in a sharp black coat jumped out, running. Panic in his eyes. Daniel, he shouted. The boy, the same one who'd eaten the sandwich, came out from behind the trees. The man ran to him, lifted him into his arms, and hugged him like he'd almost lost him forever. Grace smiled faintly from the bench. Relief. But then, the man turned and looked at her. He began walking toward her, his face unreadable. Grace stood up, a protective hand on her baby's stroller. Did you give my son something to eat? He asked, his voice low and serious. She nodded. He looked hungry. I'm sorry, But the man raised his hand, cutting her off. Don't be sorry. He looked at her, really looked. At her coat. Her hands. Her baby. Something shifted in his expression. My name is David Lawson, he said. CEO of Lawson Enterprises. Grace blinked. Did he say CEO? I owe you a thank you, he continued. Most people would have ignored a strange kid. You fed him. When you clearly had nothing yourself. Grace didn't know what to say. She wasn't used to rich people noticing her. 2 days later. Grace was walking past the same park. Nowhere else to go. Her baby was fussing. She needed milk, diapers, warmth. But life didn't care. A sleek black car stopped beside her again. The door opened. It was him. David. I've been looking for you, he said, stepping out. Grace's heart beat faster. Why? Because people like you, they don't come around often. You gave when you had nothing. That's rare. I want to help. She shook her head. I'm not looking for charity. He smiled. Good. I'm not offering it. He handed her a card. On it was his direct number. There's an entry-level job open at my company, receptionist. I'll make sure there's daycare for your daughter. If you're interested, come in Monday morning. Grace stared at the card, her hands trembling. Why are you doing this? She whispered. Because I want my son to grow up in a world where kindness is rewarded, not ignored. Monday morning. Grace stood in the giant marble lobby of Lawson Enterprises, holding her baby's little hand. Nervous. Out of place. But determined. She started as a receptionist. Then she learned. Then she grew. Day after day, she stayed late, worked hard, asked questions, watched people. She rose. Month after month, she moved from receptionist to assistant to outreach coordinator. And through it all, David watched quietly, respectfully. He didn't hand her anything she didn't earn. But he gave her a chance, and she ran with it. 1 year later. Grace stood on stage at a charity gala, in a red dress she never thought she'd own, holding a microphone in front of a hall full of people in suits and gowns. I had nothing, she said, voice trembling. Not even food for myself. But I gave what I had, and that moment changed my life. She looked at David Lawson and the crowd, his son Daniel sitting beside him. Tears welled in her eyes. You never know who's watching, she said. You never know how far one act of kindness can go.